Uh, okay, that's new. Let's see here. Um, let's, yes, we are live. Let me double click that, turn off the volume, and we pull up YouTube. Oh, let me go back to Facebook and I will tag you
No, I've shared
on.
it from your
Oh, you
page.
shared it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and tag you anyway. It's that way if people want to find you, it'll be easier. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yep.
There you are. Boom. Yeah, just in case. I mean, people want to find you. Then let me go over here, pull up YouTube, uh, strange, and boom. Yeah, another thing about us is we're not known for our spit and polish, you know? We're not known to be amateurs, but we don't really do all the high production stuff. We try to capture the human, um,
Absolutely.
the
That's
authentic, the raw, however you want to put it.
Yep. That's the only way
So,
to show up.
well, I think that's the only way we're being allowed to show up, according to the mother and all the grandmothers. Well, first of all, let me just make sure that everybody's copacetic. Okay, we got the people there. Okay, they're coming in slow. Let me just say this on the outset, and then we'll introduce our beautiful guest. I'm really excited about this. Um, Obviously, we've been kind of out of commission for a while. I think everybody's been going through a lot. We've never took a break in 11 years, and it's been about 5 weeks. So we're coming back on board. I won't go into the details because I don't want to steal the thunder here with our beautiful guest. But I will say that throughout last year, after many, many years of being suppressed and censored, even though we don't have a radical platform, we don't talk about a lot of these issues, and we have no problem doing that, by the way, with anybody. But we've been really suppressed. We're getting 3 to 4 videos a day are getting removed from our archives on YouTube and Facebook. So if you can share this out to your page or to a group one time, that would be cool. We don't usually do that, but it's just taking a long time for people to figure out that we're on because the notifications aren't going out. So this is our third show, Soul Speaks 5D. What I'm referring to is the other side. In 2012, on the birthday of my beloved, even though I hadn't met her, because there is a story behind it, I received the name Sology from Archangel Michael consciousness. And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "The other side of truth." And I feel like that as of on or around 11/11/11, we I say 11/11 of last year, uh, we're on the other side. So this is actually the third Soul Speaks 5D since we're on the other side. And it's a real pleasure for me to sit down with this beautiful sister, Janine, Savient, and she is at www.theheartlady.net. And so we're going to find out about this stuff. These new shows, I think, will have a different flavor to them, a multidimensional expansion, transformational topics that are gonna really, I think, by virtue of where we've landed uh, and what we've learned, that the human will be at the forefront of that multidimensional wake that's carving its way through this universal experience. There you go. Welcome, Janine from New Zealand. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. I look forward to getting to know you over the next hour and a half. Is that okay? Are you
Perfect.
good? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good with, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. It's really lovely to be here, to be sharing the space with you and for every other beautiful heart that comes on and over the next hour and a half and shares the space with us. Because that's what it is. It's a
Mm.
sharing of hearts in the 5D reality.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And there's so many places to start. Back before we took the jump about a year ago at the guidance of the Mother Goddess, or I would say Nudging is light, but we jumped off social media knowing that we had to make this transition. She guided us through it, or at least the first part of it. Uh, Up to that point, I think we'd probably done about 4,000 shows, and I was known for asking people, "When did you wake up?" Or have you always been this weird? But I was told, don't ask that anymore because it's a new ball game now. But I think you kind of captured what that is. So uh, we've had a lot of I would say divine feminines that carry the type of energy that I can already see that you carry, uh, not to be labelized or pigeonholed into a certain, it's not like that. It's truly, to me, I spend a lot of time with what I call the grandmothers. You carry that type of energy, which has so many things. But I would just kind of like conclude it like this and then lead into a conversation like this. Many of these women, I would say 60 and older, 50 and older, certainly some going back to the 1960s, we've had many of these women had, kind of a solitary wake up. In a way that many of us that occurred 2011 for me, many people that occurred maybe, right before that, and just certainly during that period of the 2012 to 2022, we weren't alone. And these stories of these women are extraordinary because they were alone. And I've heard all different versions where they were estranged from their family to where they somehow stayed with their family. I mean, it's all these different things. But the one thing that holds true more than anything is they received that guidance and they never looked back. And I'm just curious as to how that went for you. Did you go through uh, the estrangement from the family and you're crazy lady and psych wards and this and that? Or did you have it all, graceful and easy?
I don't know anybody that's had it graceful and easy, Todd, that's for sure. But for me, I knew right from the tiniest child that I saw life differently to the rest of my family. And I got this vision because I'm a visionary. And I got this vision that I was this beautiful purple poppy-like flower and I was in a garden of squat green cabbages. So the rest of my family were the squat green cabbages and I was this beautiful, tall, slender purple flower. And I've always had a wee smile at that image, but that's kind of how it was for me because I love my family. I love all my brothers, their wives, their children. I love them all, but we're in different worlds. And so I love them from a distance. And on the very odd time that we come together, very odd time, there's just love between us. But they have always known me as completely, in their words, bizarre, ridiculous. They'd often say to me, my brothers especially would say to me, what's the weather doing on planet Janine today? And and I never took offense because it was always like that with me and my family. And I brought my children up when I got married. I brought my children up in a wake house, and so they knew life as multi-layered, just like I did. But they've chosen more of a normal life here. They have deep insight, but they've still chosen more of a normal life. For me, it's vastly different because my normal life is the other side of normal, and it always has been my whole life. So
That's cool.
I've got a deep, multi-layered knowing of reality, and it's no other way for me.
Yeah, it sounds like because a lot of people that have come on over the years, I mean, it's interesting how most of the stories follow the same outline, which is I knew it when I was young. I lost it at some point. Now I see a difference in yours because you actually went through the same thing we all did, but they knew from the get-go. So that kind of like took that out of the way, right? Because that's a big part of a lot of people's wake-ups would be, oh my God, they all think I'm crazy. Nobody will listen to me. You know that phase you go through when you want to tell everybody that the emperor has no clothes and
Yes.
nobody wants to listen to you, and you're dealing with all the cognitive dissonance, and then you finally figure out, oh, that's not them, it's me. Who am I to go and, cast this great wisdom on them and
Well,
change?
I was lucky, Todd, because I had a mother who, although she didn't know reality as I did,
Right.
she absolutely loved her children. So therefore she supported me and taught me deep love on the
Yeah.
physical level of life here as a mother to a daughter. So I had that going on, and also as well as that, I had the most beautiful, benevolent beings that were with me right from the word go. And I had a wonderful childhood, a normal everyday childhood here, normal every day as it can be when you can see two different realities. But
Mm.
my family life, my physical family life, was very solid, was very secure, was very supporting in all the normal world ways. So it wasn't like through loneliness or anything like that I
Right.
created, these beings. These beings were there, and they taught me to play. They taught me the lightness of life. They showed me the structures of society that were totally not for the highest good of us as beings. So I
Yeah.
had all that going on right through my childhood as well. So it really laid the foundation for me as I came into adulthood.
Wow. Uh, so I'm getting like, oh, this is so cool being on the other side now. We can incorporate all of this stuff that's happening at the same time. But for
Yes.
one thing, I just see like elementals all over the place. I'm like, what the heck is this? And what's that? So I have a feeling some of those guides were probably at some level. We can talk about it. I'd love to hear about this. And then the other thing that popped in my head, and we know there's no mistakes, um, was to kind of lead into it this way. A, who were these guides? Is there an elemental influence? Because there seems to be permeating from your being. And two, how important at this point in your life, uh, how important has it been that you are in the location you're in, that you're in this New Zealand, which we know is very carrying some very ancient codes, etc.
What was the first part of the question again? I was just
Who were these guides that were
ah,
with you from the beginning, and was there an elemental flavor or connection to them?
to- yes, totally. That's what you're feeling, Todd. Totally, there was. There was for instance, I would be sitting in a classroom at behind the desk like everybody else. I'd look out the window, and one of these beautiful elemental beings would pull me out into a ray of sunshine to play. So often there was what looked to the child in me a ray of sunshine, and the being would be calling me into it. So my light body would be straight out there in playing in this ray of sunshine that was just golden particles, beautiful golden particles that I would be playing in with this beautiful being until the chalk or the duster got thrown at my physical body in the classroom, and I'd be boom, back in there. And so I was known as a dreamer but people didn't realize, of course, it wasn't that I was dreaming. I was actually outside playing within these beautiful particles. So yes, definitely beautiful elementals, definitely some angelics as well. And for the child, really, they were teaching me to play. They were teaching
Hmm.
me the lightness of life and love, but on a playful level at that stage.
Yeah,
So yeah,
the lightness of being. Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my God, I can see it all. And has New Zealand as a as a center point, or at least geographically a focal point in your experience, has it spoken to you in terms of why you're there, what it means to you, what history you've had there, or is it just, uh,
New Zealand is an incredibly special part of this earth, and it's not by accident that we are born where we're born. It doesn't matter where we move to in the world, the place of our birth anchors our energy. So for me with New Zealand, I used to go out into the universe many years ago. I would just rise out in meditation. I don't leave the body now in any meditation, but back then I did. So I'd rise out and I'd look back down at the earth, and I could always see New Zealand had like a purple hue right across it, the only place on the earth that did. So I said to my team one day, I said, why is that like that? And they said, dear one, that is the classroom of the planet. So they said the veils are all far finer over that country than they are over any particular other country in the world. And they said this makes the window or the veils a lot finer for information to come through, for learning. And so they said a lot of the new world teachers are either born in New Zealand or they're pulled to New Zealand, and then they are gently moved back out into the world. So that was what I was seeing. But the biggest realization with New Zealand came just a few years ago when the team said to me, in the years coming, dear one, New Zealand will lead the way. So I've never forgotten that one very powerful sentence, and I don't know how that's going to look, but it's just recently come back to me just about a month or two ago when I remembered that one sentence again. New Zealand will lead the way, through the times to come, through the years ahead. So that's going to be interesting, and especially because it's come back to me now. That's like, okay, something must be starting to form. Something's happening, obviously, even on a level that we're not sure of yet, but New Zealand will lead the way in some way that we will see. So yeah, it's a very special wee country.
Yes, it really is. I obviously have some contemporaries I've collaborated with there. I mean, there's quite a few, but I think of some of the energy which you carry that you pick up from the likes of Nikki and his wife. Oh my God, I can't remember her last name. Hammett. You know,
Nikki and Glenn Hammett.
Glenn. I'm sorry. And Gary Cook.
Yes. Yeah.
Gary Cook's amazing. I know quite a few others. I won't go down the list, but there seems to be, to me, and you again, you carry it. All right. That when another one would be Hone Edmonds, who's Maori, who actually lives in Turkey with his beautiful wife, but goes to the Maori lands every January and February and does an expedition off grid with people.
Yes.
That is, I hope to do one day. But what I'm referring to is like very much an elemental flavor. When I say elementals, I'm not just talking, with all reverence, the little people. I'm talking about the unicorns, and I'm talking about the dragons. I'm talking about this primordial elemental that just feels like home to me over there. And these people seem to carry it, and it has like this, I would say, like almost like an Akashic kind of flavor to it, like an Akashic wisdom, like something that was verbalized or kind of anchored onto the earth, like say from the skies to the earth itself by this branch of our family. I don't know. New Zealand just feels like it's like maybe it's coming out to be seen.
Absolutely. Like the unicorns and the dragons and every other being that we have been taught is mythical, right, actually is real. Like this is all reality. This is all within the realities of dimensions that we've been told is pure fantasy and imagination. Well, imagination is real. Right. We are the dreamers, the Imagineers. This is at one of our deepest creative powers that we have. I've been with all these beautiful creatures, and I see them often in my daily life. They like I went past a paddock of 2 white horses about a month ago, and both of them swung round and looked at me, and they were both unicorns, like beautiful. And I just wound down the window and I said to them, I see you. I see who you really are, not as a representation of the horse here. But, you know,
Right.
there's like people have been put away in asylums and that for what they have experienced in these realms, and these realms are real. They're
Absolutely.
absolutely, they're more real than this physical reality that we're experiencing ourselves in at the moment.
Yeah, that I absolutely agree 100%. And, you know, having had some experience myself on a much lighter scale, in terms of, you know, how that fits into social norms, or we should say social abnorms that we've been taught
Yes.
are norm, but having some family and of course many collaborators and stories that I've been privy to, you know, a lot of us did end up in, you know, incarcerated in some way, be it a psych ward for 3 days or even longer, or otherwise in jail, etc. So, you know, I remember speaking to Morgan a few months ago because I had some visits from different people, you know, as I've done my work over the years. And there's a couple of sisters that are really, really special, but I remember meeting them 2 or 3 years before and they couldn't even talk.
Mm.
Like they were so they were unicorns.
Yeah.
And but now they were in this space at Soul G event and they were given a voice. They were given a platform. And so then the next year went by, and then the next year went by, which would have been last year. And I remember remarking to her and telling her, you know what? These people, which it really essentially would include you and her, and I guess me too, but these people are going to be seen for what they are. They are extraordinary people, the indigenous, the Aborigines, um, you know, the civilizations that have handed down the oral history. Many of them speak of the way that they allowed the space for these special souls who had, you know, who could see to the other side. But by human standards, they were, you know, they were they were yeah, very different. I mean, they just did a lot of different things. They talk about hayokes and this and that. But I feel like that's happening,
Oh, gosh,
where
yes.
these people are going to start to be seen for the tremendous souls that they are.
Well, this is part of truth. This is part of the truth that's revealing itself now. You know, Todd, it's very limiting to believe that human beings are just this physical being in this physical 3D reality, and we have no capabilities that are outside of this 3D realm. There is so many beings that are actually clothed in a human avatar at the moment, that are from other civilizations, that are from other dimensions and realms, yet they come on in, especially now that the vibration has risen high enough that they can come in far more comfortably than what they could before, and they come in and they take the form that all the rest of humanity is used to seeing. But
Right.
often over the years, they have morphed in front of me. I can feel it first. I could be walking down the street. I get the feeling, I go, oh, something's about to be shown. And then somebody, some total stranger, will walk past me in the street and they'll just morph into another being. And sometimes they look at me, sometimes they smile, sometimes they just carry on, and then they morph back into the human. And it's not like they're doing that. It's like I'm in a space where I can see that. So they don't change their shape. It's me that actually can see the difference in them. You know, but these beautiful beings from so many different realms and dimensions, and they are right here in this plane of existence with us right now. So many are waiting for extraterrestrial contact, and yet Mrs. Jones across the fence is probably exactly who
That's
they're
right.
looking for, you know?
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
That what a great segue too, because uh, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I know you've been doing this a long time. And I don't know. To me, it feels like post 11/11/2023. Um, everything went out the window. Every single thing. I keep getting these, I guess you would call them downloads, where even those things that served us in our awakening. So, like, say for most people, it's 2012 to 2022. These things, these connections, these memories, these channelings, light language, and all. And I'm not taking anything away from it or saying it's leaving, but it's almost like I felt like, oh, I'm being pushed out beyond that.
Yes.
That's all part of me. It was all meant to wake me up or to remind me or remember or however you want to talk about it. But like we're in this other space. And this other space is, hey, we're all awake. We know we're multidimensional. We know this isn't the only skin suit that we've worn. Now, what are we going to do with it?
Yes.
That's where I'm at. And I'm curious as to somebody who's been really awake since the day you were born and then and being in and again big gratitude to your mother, and mothers and souls like that allow the soul to roam, and to find their own rhythms. But I'm just curious as to, uh, you know, is there a sense of it's finally here with you? Is there a sense of shock as to, wow, wait a minute, this is even bigger than I thought? I mean, like, what are your thoughts on where we're at and where we're going?
So you're so spot on with how you're feeling in regard to all this. We have gone up many notches, not that there's levels, but we have opened inward many notches in the last few months, and nothing is as it was. So all the stories that brought us to this point, and all that time over the last few years that has been what I call our apprenticeship leading into our coming back online, all of that is behind us now, is being released from us now, because within the spiritual movements, there's been more untruth than there's actually been truth. It's been a targeted area, deliberately a targeted area, because we were the ones over all the years that were starting to realize that we're seeing there was something else, that weren't held into the blinkers and the limited perception of this 3D reality. So we were targeted right throughout and led astray in so many different directions. Now we're letting go of all that as well. So everything that brought us to this point no longer resonates with us. We don't find the pull within it that we did back then that got us excited. It's just not there now, because now it's about coming inward into ourself, into what we hold within us, our true nature, our essence, coming in and realizing that actually there is only love. There is only love. Love is the foundation where everything in this entire universe grows from. And even the experiences that have been lacking love over lifetimes have simply been us experiencing ourselves without love in our life. So now we're coming back online fully into our true nature, the truth of ourself, and the purity of the love that we are. We're being asked, Todd, to let go every story that has brought us to this point, every piece of learning that we have taken on as a belief, let it go. Because beliefs, ideas, thoughts, perceptions, all that is part of the mental mind, the thinking mind. That is not a natural part of the beings we are. That part has been placed in us years ago, lifetimes ago, to keep us separated from knowing who we are. So
Right.
we are now, it's like come back into our truth. The truth is only found deep within ourselves.
Yeah.
And my truth could be slightly different to your truth, to Morgan's truth, to anybody else's truth that's listening here, because right now we are individually seeking that truth within us. But there's a place where it all comes into oneness and there is only the one truth, but we're still moving towards that. So it's about honoring each other on our pathways inward now. You know, as I said earlier, years ago, I used to take off out of my body, go out into the universe. I'd take off and go and play with these beings. I was always out of my body until one day it was said to me, you've spent your whole life thus far, dear one, out of your body. It's now about coming into your body, and you go in and through, down into that purity of essence, which is pure love. So that's where we are right now. Your insight is so spot on, so acute.
Thank you. Yeah, let's keep going. This is fun. Yeah, one of the things that you said, actually a lot, I really resonate with you. Ooh, I get chills. Um, I've not discussed this a lot with people. I have discussed it with Morgan, obviously discuss everything with her. I've always questioned every single thing, even the voice, plural, voices in my head.
Yeah.
I've always, and I've been blessed, I feel, because the mother is the one that has pushed me and tested me on this since I was a kid, to stand in my sovereignty, even when I'm looking her in the eyes, or the father, or whatever entity you want. So one of the things that I really was happy to hear you say is about, and it's not a bad word, because again, we've created these experiences to see what love is and what love is not, and to really, in my opinion, push the bar even higher, right? Because you can't make the light any bigger unless you go down, a few degrees below.
Yes.
But that is that the infiltration, uh, the controlled aspects. We might talk about psyops. We can talk about the CIA or the NSA or whoever we want to talk about. Recognizing the light worker, starseed, uh, kind of communities rising, platforms rising. You could throw in disclosure and conspiracy. Very important, because uh, I see that we're moving away from the over-identification and kind of false validation that we got from comparing notes and having to know why. I guess it was kind of the driver behind it, because this is another thing that you're mentioning, the mental. I'm getting to the point where it's becoming obvious to me that there's going to be a lot less talking, that nothing has to be explained because the truth is right in your face, just like walking past those beings. And is it you being ready, or they see you're ready? It's a chicken and the egg. It doesn't even matter, because it's really what's happening. So my question to you is, how do you see that playing out? There's a lot of narratives that are still playing out in the Lightworker and Starseed. You can see pretty much the same post every day. I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but hi, this is the Arcturians. Hi, this is the Pleiadians. Hi, this is the Andromedans. Hang on a little bit longer. We're coming. Keep, like carrot on the stick kind of thing. If I'm not mistaken, the eternal moment is the only moment that we have. It's all we have. And that must mean that every bit of the power that we have, as we've been made in the image of, is available to us now. And I don't know if you can elaborate on this, it'd be great. How do we own that essence? How do we become that? How do we contain that? How do we expand and sustain that in our personal fields? How do we tap into our skills and abilities and multidimensionality while we're in waking state in form? Does that make sense?
So first off, we have to realize that we are not our mental mind. We are not our thinking mind. We must realize that and then commit to quietening that down. So we commit to becoming our own observer. So in any moment that we're in, that we are straight into our mind, of course, because that's where we've been taught to be for lifetimes, straight into our mind, we realize it. There you go, mind. There you are. There's the thought. There's the judgment. There's the criticism. Oh, there's the self-berating. There's the inner dialogue, the repeated thought patterns. So we become the observer of self and see the mind for what I call software in us, or the program that's here in this reality. That is the software that's fed minute by minute by outside source of the programming. And that's, as you know, will be images, the wordings, the everything that's out there. So when we start to realize that that is not a part of the being that we are, the quantum mind is, yes, but this is the mental mind, the small, what I call the small mind. We can start to soften it down, we start to learn to come into what I call our body-heart awareness. So we come down into our body, into this spaciousness that we start to realize is there in the body, and we allow ourselves to be guided in that moment by our feelings, because that is our natural language. We are feeling beings. Every single feeling that we have is a vibration, holds a resonance, is filled with data. So this is our deep communication with what we may term our higher self, or our inner being, or a source connection. Some people call it God. Whatever it is, this is where we come online with that, with the truth of ourself. So we are kept in separation with our mental mind. That is what it's designed to do, to stop us ever knowing the truth of ourself. So that's the very first place to start. The other part that you mentioned when you were sharing, Todd, was that you're realizing that words are becoming less, that we're not needing as many words. Absolutely is what's happening here. So as long as we're aware that the mind is part of the program and it's not actually a natural part of us, we can then start to understand that the mind is geared to chatter, to be constant, to be noisy, to connect out into the busyness, and any part of that is never going to show us the spaciousness in ourselves, the silence, the quiet, the gap between one word and the next. And it's in that gap that we have a sense of ourselves, that we have a sense of ourselves. We have it again. What is that? What is that? And what that is that is a growing presence coming back in us. And as long as we're on the leading edge of this change, which you and myself and so many other hundreds of thousands are now, it's happening. It's happening anyway. It's already a work in process, and our mind is softening down, and our awareness is coming in more, and we're getting the feeling that we want quiet more, that we want to be in stillness more. We're wanting to connect into nature, because nature is our natural state of being. We are children of nature. So the natural world is growing up. I often say we are birthing the new world through us. Well, this is our natural truth, our nature, true nature growing up within ourselves. And it's happening. And there's nothing that can stop this from coming fully back online with all of us that have chosen to be part of it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That was a mouthful. No, that's right on the money though. Well, because look, I spend a lot, well, it doesn't matter, but what I see or what I hear, I like the word feel. I think that's so applicable now. I like to write, so I don't know what I'm going to do when the words go away. So I like to write poetry and songs and perform them. And I keep playing with the words feeling, as in feeling my way, and
Yes.
feelings. And there's
Yes.
some kind of relation there that, I don't know, for me, it was like in 2019, I started to really sit with my feelings.
Yeah.
And I've talked about a lot on the show over the years, but that's uh, kind of like, the baton got handed off or something. And now it's turned into, because of that, I guess you would say oneness or awareness that I had of my feelings in a given moment. Why do I feel this way? Da, 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 da. How does it feel? That this steering wheels appeared that's based on the way my body feels. And this has really come online this year and very, very quickly, to where I don't always understand something, but I know one thing: my body's telling me, get the hell out of here right now.
Yeah.
Or the PTSD, sets in or something. You're like, holy crap. And no longer am I consumed in the mental, which would usually involve somebody else, right? Or some kind of prejudice or bias. It just goes, oh, I'm feeling this way. My body's telling me I'm feeling this way. It's showing me how this has happened over and over again. And that's all it really wants to tell you.
Yeah.
And I get the impression that I won't be seeing it again. It's weird. It's crazy. The other thing that you bring up, which I've gone back and forth with. Now, you didn't say this specifically, but let me just lead you there. Um, it's an all or nothing proposition. If one is a narrative, then the other is a narrative. So I start looking at that, and I'm talking about everything from the Bible up to the law of one and anything else in the construct. Everything is the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's Hitler's Mein Kampf or it's the raw law of one. It doesn't matter what, it's all the same thing. And I keep hearing, work with what you have.
Yes.
And
That's it.
and which to me, it's really broadened my mind and my field. I feel that's one of the reasons I've been very quiet for what you're saying. I needed a lot of privacy, a lot of solitude these last few months. I needed a break. But in that time, as the mind is still, as you were talking about, I start to enter this space where everything truly is me. There is no judgment. And then you find yourself back in the body, going back to where we started. What do we do now? I mean, so when I listen to you, and I feel the same way, it's almost like there's nothing you can do because this is going down. All right. But it's almost like we're riding a wave, and and we have the awareness to be on the wave. Now, can we do a few tricks before the wave runs out? Something like that. You know, I don't know. And then I have maybe it's a hope. I don't really care for that word, but uh somehow or another, what we're doing, simulation or not, is affecting where we go from here, both individually and collectively, et cetera, monads, all that. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, what is, now that we've reached this point, and there was all this talk about missions and this and that, not to take anything away from anything, but again, it's just about what got us here, not to be stuck on what's back there on the grid, right?
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that? Are we looking at 1,000 years of peace? Are we looking at a quantum leap into that real world that you spoke about and that we've all visited from time to time with our light bodies, uh, where the physicality becomes more diminished? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? And I know there's no right or wrong. I'm just curious as to
Yeah.
what your thoughts are.
So if I was to take it back to before, when you said there is only this present moment, I can't remember the words you used, but everything's happening right in this now. That is exactly how it is. So there is no linear time for real. Linear time comes with the 3D programming. And so as the mind is dissolving, softening down, quietening, and we are becoming more online within our body heart awareness, the linear time is starting to be realized for what it is. No past, no future.
Right.
So there is no ancestors. living back in previous lives, that we are our ancestors, all the aspects of us as our soul energy, and we're living all those lives right now in this moment. So when we look at that, and then we look at where we may be headed, we're not headed anywhere. We're living for right now in this breath, in this
True.
breath. So for me, what I've been shown to do is I bring a vision of what I would like the future new world to be, and I bring it into this now moment, and I kind of overlay it over the life that I'm experiencing here. So I don't see it. I see it in moments. I see it in many, many moments of exquisitely deep beauty and awe-inspiring creativity, and the most incredible kindness and giving that's starting to come between as the unity builds up in people. But what I do is it's the feeling of it. So it's the feeling of the future in the now, the future now.
Yeah.
So that is happening right now. So actually, we're not headed anywhere. We're only ever right here, right now. And as our mind softens down, we're going to understand that. It won't be just a concept. It will be an experienced knowing of us
Right.
that there is only now. So we won't have any past. Already the past is dissolving for a lot of people. They haven't got the emotional connection that they've always carried all their life to different experiences, and that they're finding it's just dissolving. It's not near as big as it's always been, and it's the same with people that hold so much deep hope for the future. There's so many now that are realizing that they don't care about that so much now, because it's right in this breath that the change is happening,
Yes, you speak my language. Yeah, because even and I did it, you know, the clarion call went out. I heard it. We're here on a mission. We're here on a mission. But even that is falling to the side.
Yeah.
Because there never was, the whole experience has been with a safety net. I mean, we're in the mother's hands. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, so listening to you, it's fascinating to me because I have experienced a lot of this, and I make a conscious effort every day. That's why I've only got 2 shows scheduled because I know we're not supposed to do it like we used to. We're
No.
not going to be on deadlines. We're not going to have this time frame kind of, matrix thing, right? So I know that's Morgan and I often say, we don't know what to do, but we know what not to do. And
Yes.
I've been told since 2011 when I reawoke, and you know how it is, they give you all these things. You're like, okay, what do I do with it? Oh, you go figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they tell you, right? Oh, it's great. We were so smart. Look how smart I am. I channeled such and such, but like, what do you do with it? And they would always tell me, and still do. The mother tells me to this day, these last 3 years, we did a lot of work with her. And she kept saying to me, whatever you do, don't do anything that's been done before. And I'm like, oh my God. But then, and through that time, through that evolution, you have those mental dialogues. You go, well, I mean, truly, I know over there I can do anything. But how do I get from here to there? Don't get your driver's license renewed. I'm not recommending this to anybody. I'm just telling you what my path. Don't get car insurance. Don't do things that are part of that system, because how can you be, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really extraordinary. What you brought up is what happens energetically speaking, to include the effect on the physicality and the experience as a whole. When as more and more of us, the collective, begins to literally detach from linear time, or to see it like you talked about the software, to see the software of the game that we designed. What is going to be the other side of that? Is it going to be portals? Is it going to take us from, you were a young girl in class, they thought you were daydreaming, you were out playing over here on the playground with the unicorns? Is it going to be something like that where, you know, I'm over here, God, it's been too long. I hadn't seen her in a long time. I sure would like to just, and next thing you know, I'm laying with Morgan or something like that. I mean, I really feel like that that's another thing too that we heard over the years many times when we would channel together, is, you know, we would be like, well, when's this going to happen? Or well, is this going to happen? And you would just hear like laughing, and they'd be like, you have no idea. You can't even comprehend how incredible this is all going to be. You know?
Exactly, exactly. But you know, the human mind likes to know, of course. You know,
Mm,
we're used to that. But the you saying before, what is going to happen when enough of us are so detached or released from the system? What is going to happen? So, and as you were saying that, they were showing me the entire reality flipping. So
yeah,
if there's not enough mental stimulation, mental grasping going on anymore, there's nothing to hold the program in place. And what I saw was the entire reality flipping. So
right.
however that happens, that just came through right now as you were talking. That's new to me. I mean, I've wondered myself, how is it going to look? How is it going to look? And even now, I don't know how a flip would look, but I do know that the team said to me, everything as you know it in your life right now will change. They
Right.
said everything, the building you live in, the way you dress, like they named every little nuance of my life, they said will change. And it'll be a rough ride for a while, but you know ultimately how it's all going to unfold and blossom. And so does everybody else that will be there with you in that frequency. And that's what's going to sustain you for a short while, they said, until you come into a centered, aligned place in yourself again. They said
Right.
if we could hold to our center as much as possible now, then a lot of what's going to go on in our countries around the world will have very little effect on our lives, but still our lives are going to change in a big way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's the big question. Yeah. You're good. All right. So, um, it's like we're all going to the doctor to get a shot as a kid, and you're like freaking
That's
out.
not
You know
good.
what I mean? You're like
Yeah.
freaking out because you know it's going to be painful. And then when it's over, but you also know the other side of it too, right? And we know it's not there because if we were there, we're already there, first of all. And if we want to be
Yeah.
there in this consciousness, we're basically going to be where we've always been, like stars humming, an incredible resonance, and just illuminating. And that's why we come down here. We get bored, you know. But yeah, I like what you're saying too, because you know that's the big question. What's going to happen between here and there? This creates all these narratives. And
Yeah.
even in the light worker communities and Starseed, I got news for you, brothers and sisters. And you know me, I'm not one to really mince words, but they're drinking that Kool-Aid too, just like
Yes.
some of these things that we had seen as antagonists or catalysts at one time. We can talk about the church, we can talk about the state, we can talk about a lot of things. we're not we're not any different, and what we've created has gotten us to this point. And I really feel like if anything I've heard from you today is many things. 555, no mistakes. um, it's that it's so important. There's nothing more important, and what I should say, there's nothing that is going to potentialize us to a more easy and graceful evolutionary transformation than, no matter what happens, no matter who, what, where, when, is to be centered. And I know it sounds like, you know, new age BS, but it's not. To really be in that space, knowing that, hey, I am soul. No matter what
Yep.
goes on around me, I am soul. And the effect that even one person can have on their general environment regardless of what the distortion looks like.
Absolutely. We are limitless and we are eternal. There is absolutely no way can we die, have we ever died. So even if the worst that we could think of from our human perspective happened, and we were engulfed in a tsunami or a volcano or whatever, and our body ceased, we just simply go back into our expanded state. So, you know, and this is how it's always been. So when we can let go the fear of death, then nothing can really touch us. There is nothing here that can be presented to us that can actually touch us deeply. And this is us coming into alignment in this calm, centered place of all knowing of ourself as an eternal being. And the other part is that we are so incredibly powerful in every respect that our human mind cannot even begin to conceive of the idea of that. And so we don't know that in its fullness yet. And this is the journey right now, coming back into that fullness while we're still embodied in this physical representation. So that is what's happening in the awakening now, is that instead of going out into our soul energy, we're bringing as much as we can down into this physical avatar, and we're going to experience ourselves on the opposite extreme of how it's been for many lifetimes. With the lack of love, we are now going to experience ourselves in fullness of love, in the presence of our fullness of love. And how that may look, we can only guess at in moments when we see incredible beauty or colors that are coming now that have been foreign to this reality, or, you know, or beings that are morphing out of their physical form right in front of us, or any type of psychic phenomena that's really starting to happen in people's lives, and telepathy's coming back online. And there's just so much that's just beginning to birth into us now that's helping to take us to where we're going.
Yeah. That's it. You know, I went into this little hiatus or whatever. You know, I really thought, God, I'm done. You know, I'm just done. I don't have anything left. I've left it all there. And the mother told me, and this is just a little personal, but I think it follows everybody. You know, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So she told me, this is it. This is the third, you know, you finish this year and it's out with the old and in with the new. So I want you to orchestrate like you do, and thread it out, weave the final, you know, pieces. And now you're coming out and you're creating in the new, almost like a ramping up to 2024. But by the time January 1st hit, I was like, you know what? I'm not coming back from this. I don't have any energy. I don't have any will. What's the point? You know, and all this stuff. But something like you were talking about right now kept slowly creeping in. You know, and again, if everything you're doing has never been done before, then what you're going to experience is something you've never experienced before.
Yes.
And what is it that you haven't experienced? You know, this is my conversation with, and it's like, well, I mean, I pretty much pushed it any way I could go. You know, I try to do as much as I can. You could call me a thrill seeker, whatever the case is. I'm always in service and all that. And they said, what's left? And I said, well, the only thing left is like the fairy tales. Well, get at it, boy. So they're like, get at it. I'm like, okay. But I feel like just to kind of conclude it with what you're talking about, I said, oh, I'm getting chills again. So we must be on the right track. I said for many years, a lot of things I'll say, I don't know how the people are, but I don't even know what I'm saying. And it'll be months or years later, I'm going, holy crap. I'm like, you know, you feel like Notre Dame, right? But one of those things has been that to take not necessarily Soulology, but this type of communicado, right? Take this mainstream because you hit it. People are having these psychic episodes. People are having ET galactic visitations and our connections. There are these children that are coming in, these colors that you referred to. You can't tell me, I mean, all you got to do is go look on Facebook. These pinks and these blues and these greens and these purples all over the world. I took a picture of the full moon last night. I could not get it to make a circle. It kept coming out. It looked like one of those Christmas ornaments that has like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I
I
just
saw
heard,
it. Yes.
yeah, and I heard everything's different now. I think I even wrote it down. I heard everything's different now. Everything is different. Even the moon, where it used to be an influencer, because you hear all those narratives, right? And I'm
Yes.
sure there's truth to a lot of these narratives. Like you said, we came to experience what it is to not have love. But the fact is, it's all us. And I can sit with any energy I want to, and I can collaborate with that energy. There's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, this is like blasphemy, even to the last 20 years or even the 90s with the new age. So you got to protect yourself. And I'm not saying people change your mind or anything. I'm just saying it's an all or nothing proposition. You either walk in that faith or you don't. And there's no 99.9%, oh, I'm going to participate here, but I still got to pay my taxes. I still got to do that. Hey, those days are ending quickly. And I believe we're being supported, which I would think you probably have good insight into, is the level of reciprocation, or what people call instant manifestation, uh, or the effects of the things that we cause through our thoughts, words, and action are coming very fast now, very fearless, very fiercely, very in your face. And that old adage of be careful what you ask for is taking on a new meaning as well. But what are your thoughts on that? The universal reciprocation. There's been a lot of talk about 2024 being the breakout year. They got all these different dates and years and all that. I tend to believe it's now. But what are your thoughts on, have you seen in your own relationship with infinite intelligence or your team, have you seen an increase or rapidity or a difference in the way things materialize for you?
Absolutely, Todd. Absolutely. You know, it's because people are starting in their own way, in their own timing, to realize the mind isn't actually their friend. It isn't actually doing them any big favors. And even though we've been taught to create with the power of our thoughts and our inner dialogue and our affirmations and all that, that is all just shallow, distracting stuff. We create from our body and our heart and the vibrational frequency, the resonance that goes out from our feelings. So when we feel something and then we apply vision to it as well, that's how we're creating now. And of course, that's bringing it in a heck of a lot faster. There's a lot, you know, it's only fine tuning. It's only just starting to heat up as well now. So because people are playing with it now. But the one thing with manifestation that we must understand is we have to take a physical step in that as well.
Right.
We can't just put the vibration out, hold the vision and expect it into our life, because as humans, we get a little bored very quickly, or we go into our doubt very quickly. Even if we're really working with our frequency of our body, we can still bring doubt in if we just don't see it materialize. But when we take a step into change of some sort in our life, we're reinforcing our commitment with the universal presence that's here within us, that we're willing to do the work as well physically. And that alters our, I could say, mindset, because the mind is still part of this equation until it's not, but it alters us. It brings us into an alignment where the feelings, our feeling natures, can then really create, because we don't have a doubt. There's not this little inner dialogue that may be still running in the background. Oh, I've tried this so many times in the past and it's never happened, or or, you know, I'm why does she get that and I don't all the time, or how come it works for him and not for me? There's all these pieces that the mind will start bringing in, you know, that stop it. So with one hand, we're drawing to us through our feelings what we're wanting to create, and with the other hand, we're pushing it away with that little bit of mind chatter that's still going on in the background. So by taking a physical step in the direction of what we're wanting, say we want more finances in our life, and we know that's tied in with our own self-worth, what can we do for our own self-worth that will build us up a bit? Therefore, the entire vibrational cycle changes. You see,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying here?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. 100%. I wouldn't have been able to verbalize it like that, but to me, yes, because you know, a lot of this, you know, there's a direct relationship between the level of self-judgment that we have and the level of love we have for
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes.
And I remember in 21, when this last little leg started, 21, 22, 23, when the mother really came in, and I was in Sedona, and I did the first Soldier Fest, and I drove home. Morgan had gone back to Australia. So it was a very different environment when I came back. Uh, and I started juicing, uh, and I just started, you know, what we do this work, right?
Yeah.
And this mantra kept coming through every time something would come up, even if it was something I did in the moment. It would be no judgment, no judgment. Let's sit with this, no judgment. But going back to what you're saying is, you know, I'm like everybody. I do some things well. You know, I'm okay with everything I do. You know, sometimes I like to have an Irish whiskey. Sometimes I like to have a Guinness beer. You know, whatever the case is, I recognize, especially these last few months, and it was extraordinary. I was thinking about this last night. I could actually feel my entire physicality, my energy, my light body, everything change. And it didn't really matter what I'm doing. If I'm eating pork tamales or, you know, some things that, you know, they say aren't good for you, I realized it was the energy that I'm holding
Yes.
that's making all the difference in the world. I just turned 62. I go for walks most every night in the bayou because of what you said about the nature thing. Uh, it's been really, really cold here for us. It's been, you know, below freezing and wet. And I'm thinking, I'm not getting sick. I have a little soreness. I have my bones ache now and then, but it's like this shouldn't be going on. And I gotta believe it's coming from this place of no self-judgment, which is what? When there's no judgment, there's 100% compassion.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, and I know it's not limited to me. This is a whole bunch of myriad of things that are all connected together that shoot out all these different streams of information to include physical healing, to include telepathy, and to include this, I don't know how you say it, but like this undefinable, unexplainable, because it's moving too fast, changes that's happening to all my bodies at once, kind of thing. And it's extraordinary. It really is. You know, I just want to go back to this because I forgot to follow up on it. And I'm not into the doomsday stuff, and I know you're not, and I know you get it. We're on the same. We're looking at it the same way. So either we're both on the right side of it or the other, if there was one.
Yeah.
But when you say we're going to have, and many people do say this, and it looks pretty inevitable. When you say we're going to have to go through some things on a collective or regional level or in our countries or that type of thing, um, how much, and I know anything's possible, but on the trajectory that we're on, how much influence do you think that we carry to, again, to minimize that, to increase the illumination and the collective awareness to the point where it combats or softens those things?
So we're very powerful, and it doesn't take many of us that are coming back online to influence this reality. So it's inevitable that change is going to sweep through our lives. As the team showed me, they said, dear one, if everything was to just stop now, the last 4 or 5 years that you've been through, it all softened down and you've changed a lot. There's a lot of people changed a lot. How much would that change that you've taken on in yourself influence your life moving forward? Would there be great change in the way you live? And I says to them, oh, to be true and real, possibly not. So they said, therefore, this is why change needs to continue in your reality, because too many, they said, would go back even only a few steps, but too many would go back into a life that was similar to what they had before. Even though they have changed, there would be some change, but they wouldn't be completely heart-centered feeling beings. So change really, really, really is going to do a good job. But I'll tell you a vision that they showed me, and it was right at the start of the year. I think I wrote a post on it on Facebook. So in this vision, because often I step right into the visions and I'm the participant and sometimes the observer and sometimes both. In this vision, I stepped in and I was with this beautiful woman on the left-hand side who I knew was a representation of humanity. And she was standing on like this, we were on this hill, and she had this warm, soft glow that was coming right out of her. And she was looking off into the distance. So then I turned and looked into the distance. And all I could see was hills and valleys and blackness. And there was chaos within the blackness. Like everybody was at each other. Things were being torn down, fires, you name it, just how you could imagine it would be when dark just takes over. And she stood on that hill with the soft glow, just humming, just gentle, like a heartbeat in her, completely unaffected as she watched the outside world falling down, crumbling down around her. And they said to me, this is those that are centered in their calmness, that have got to the place in themselves where they realize they are an eternal being. They do not have to have the deep effect of the world crumbling down.
Right.
So the light and the dark are both rising at the moment. The light is coming right up in us. The dark is rising up in the world. They're coming up at equal force, and then they really face off, and then the dark crumbles. It falls right down into dust, where the light moves over and brings it up and brings it back into the light again. So that is symbolic for, yes, we're going to see a big year coming up at some stage. But as long as we don't emotionally get enmeshed in it and allow the fear to rise in us, then we're going to be okay. So yes, and yes, we may be without electricity, we may be without running water. I'm only surmising these things. They weren't said to me, but I'm thinking if the change is going to be that big, how will it enter my house without in the easiest possible way? If I'm in my heart space, I thought no water, no electricity, can't go out and buy any food, all that sort of stuff. Yes, I could survive. Absolutely. I could survive through all that. I would adapt and find new ways of surviving, and this is the world changing and eventually there won't be any money. So we will trade our skills and we will give to each other and support each other in that way. So eventually further down the track, the money that's been introduced into this reality by those that we've created as playing the dark roles at the moment, that will cease to exist. That will go away as well. So we do have bits and pieces over the next 2 or 3 years that are going to challenge us, but we're up for the challenge, Todd.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I absolutely can relate to it. My first 2 years on my awakening, I chose to go homeless. because I had like a lot of us have went through a lot of traumas, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go homeless. I
Yeah.
lost everything, so I'm going to go home. Anyway, it was a call, but I'm so grateful for that period of time, and it never stopped because I essentially was homeless even after that. But I mean, then I started Sology and traveled around a bit, but that's the kind of situation it was. It
Yes.
didn't matter what was going on. It solidified me to what we've all come into our personal knowing, and that I am eternal. You can't touch this. You know what I mean?
So
So we're
that
talking, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, you're
that
talking,
part,
yeah,
that part that you went through, that experience was getting you in readiness.
right.
Was getting you in readiness. Look how many people you will be able to help and support if they're
Mm,
starting to flounder, if they're starting to fall apart, all that. You've
right.
been there. You know what it's like to be homeless and how you survived. You have
Yeah.
that strength in you now, that understanding.
Well, I think yeah, yeah. And going to what you're saying though, well, and you asked the question, well, what's it going to take for it to come into my space to push me? And I've always felt, and I learned back then in those 2 years, it was always they would say to me, how do you find your soul and how do you test your faith?
Yep,
Take everything away,
yep,
every single thing, every belief system, everything away. And
everything.
and and I've, I can't tell you, like to me, and that's what, and I guess that's $1 million question. What's it actually going to look like? I mean, you just don't know. You just
No,
don't know. But what we do know is who we are, what we are, and what we're a part of. And I love what you said too, because I want to go back and restate that real quick for people, because I just want to make sure that everybody gets what you were saying. So it was like that thing that your team told you, where if we take it to this point too quick, I guess you could say, some people are going to drop back. And I thought, oh, but we've all seen this and possibly even done this. We've had levels of awakening, or we have facilitated or witnessed somebody's awakening, and they choose to go back into this, say, family situation or whatever you could work situation you could call 3D, right? Like, and so when you said that, I thought, oh, wait a minute, she's right. So here we go. What, we saw this 3 years ago. I really feel like that's where the test is going to be. I tell this, I haven't told this story in a long time, but when I reawoke in 11, I was getting a lot of visuals like you talk about that you do. And one of them was almost grotesque, but they would have me standing like against a fence, and there was a chopping block over here to the left, and they would march. I got 6 kids. They would march my kids up one by one, and they would ask me to renounce the truth, and I would say no. And my kids would be like, "Dad, please, Dad," but I couldn't do it. My soul was entraining me, or something was going on. But I really feel like that when we are, if that's what it takes to create a newer and higher and greater experience of love, then so be it. Let's do
yes,
it.
that's
Yeah,
it. So be it. Exactly.
yeah,
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because this is us. This is us coming back into the truth of who and what we are. That's what this is all about.
yeah,
The outside has been designed. We designed it ourselves to bring us back into an awakened state of being, into our truth.
yeah,
And, when dark comes and knocks on your door and breaks it down and comes right into your house, you shine your light greater.
yeah,
Your light comes brilliantly, roaringly.
yeah, yeah. I like that. Like Mandela with his little garden in that prison for 26 years. You can find it anywhere and everywhere in any moment. It's a fascinating thing. And that's one thing about being homeless. I met a lot of people
Yeah.
that you have to take a second and third look at. These people, we talked about this earlier, many of them in America anyway, were released, that were identified as mentally afflicted, or were being housed, you might say, were put on the streets. But plenty of people that you walk up to them and you find out with a little bit of openness that they're at the center of the universe. They're totally good. They're fine. Everyone
Yeah.
thinks something's wrong with them. They're not, you know.
No.
And but their lives, at least my experience was tended to be like what you talked about. Yours was from as a child. They're here, but they're also there and there and there, and they also see things that other people don't see, such as what you
Yeah.
talked about walking by somebody. Um, so I haven't asked you any of this, and I know now that we're getting back on board, and I can tell just by the energy, that I'm sensitive to with these shows and Soulgy. There's probably going to be a lot of uh, you know, people that are looking at what you do and how you do it and finding more about you. I know I did tag you on the Facebook post on my page so people can directly go to your page. You're also at theheartlady.net, www.theheartlady.net. Can you tell us what you do, what you're into? I mean, anything that you might have coming up on a regular basis or, one-time events or anything like that, or just, anything you'd like to talk about?
Sure, sure. So what I say that I do is that I walk beside those that are ready to commit to the journey of themselves as a heart-centered being. So, to understand that their mind is not who they are. So that's my area of service. I'm a visionary, so I get a lot in vision. I also am in communication with who I call my team. They are a beautiful group of shining beings that came to me about 15 years ago and told me they were the shining ones. And,
Oh,
and then over the next year, I integrated into the energy of that group. And for the first few years, they spoke through me. And then in 2016, they told me that I needed to own every word that came out of my mouth. So I integrated even more with the group, and I hold the light. I anchor that light of that beautiful group here on the earth now, and I speak as a collective.
oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, so
Now, how do you distribute that, or yeah, how do you put that out there? Is it something you do like every day, every week, or how often do you share it?
often I write messages for my Patreon
Okay.
community. I write messages for a weekly group so at the moment I've got a 5-week weekly group running, and then I'll start another one sometime in the future, and they have like a topic each week, but that's very fluid. The topic
Uh,
is usually the message that comes from the collective, and then we flow into however that evening will look for the group. And I do one-on-ones. I do a lot of one-on-ones online with people around the world, and some people that come to me physically, but mainly online around the world. And my deepest heartfelt passion here is to awaken another heart. So anytime I see a person who gets that spark in their eyes
right.
where they've had a realization, oh my gosh, and then
Uh,
they start to ask questions, it's like, yes, another
yeah,
one. So
yeah.
that's the part that feeds. Yeah.
I love that part too. The friend will call you up like, I gotta tell you what happened. I'm like, because you heard we've all done it, right? But I mean, like you're right. There's something really cool about that. I usually tell them just get over the wow, because it's not going to change now. But I think
Yeah.
everybody has to get their story out at least one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it really is mind blowing. And yes, it can be a challenge to the ego, and it's part of our evolution. But the fact is, we've had some massive wake up experiences on this earth over the last couple of decades. Like people have
Yes.
just gone through amazing, amazing things. I was going to ask you one other thing. Oh, I wanted to ask you real quick before we get out of here. Now that you mention it, I would love to get together with you again later in the year
Yeah.
and
Be lovely.
explore, because I've got like a whole volume of questions over here. as a result of talking to you. But the shiny ones, I've heard a number of people talk about the shiny ones over the years. I I also seen like the golden beans, the golden
Yes.
light beans. But the shiny ones seem to feel, and I could be wrong about this. I mean, I'm just trying to feel my way here. They seem to have a certain feel to them. You know, I can't say that I've ever seen them, but I can't say that I haven't. But I just get an impression that they're a pretty prominent group of facilitating us here. What is your knowing of them? Not that it matters, and we don't need, like, the
Yeah.
lineages and all that. I mean, it'd be
No.
great, but like, what do they represent to you? Who are they?
So when they first came through, as I say, about 15 years, 2023, about 15 years at least ago, they told me they hadn't been able to enter into this reality until about a year before they came through and connected with me, because the vibration here was just too dense for them. And but now, and 15 years ago, they could start coming in. And there was myself and one lady in the Northern Hemisphere, they said, that were anchoring their light here. So
Okay.
at that stage, when I said to them, "Who are you?" They said, in your human thought process, they said you could call us angelic elven beings. So
I
they're
knew it.
yeah.
I knew it. I knew it from the moment I saw you. What a perfect description. It's you, basically.
Well, yes. So, well, that took me a few years to come to the terms with the fact that I am one of these beings, and that I put my hand up to be the one to anchor that vibration here in this reality. So
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
very quickly, I had a major heart operation in 2011, and during that operation, I died for a while, and they had to put me on this machine. And in that time, another aspect of my soul came into my body. Now people could know that as a walk-in, that this
Right.
earth absolutely chock full of walk-ins now.
Right.
There
Right.
are so many leaving and new ones coming in to take over this part. So for me, what that did with me was it brought me into even a deeper realization and understanding of my role here as the anchor light for this beautiful collective
Right.
of beings, and love. It took me into a even deeper awareness of the essence of love and what that actually is, and inherits us. And that's been building so that I can support others into their knowing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just a couple of quick points there, because like one thing you mentioned at the beginning when you were talking about walking by that person who showed themselves to you, you mentioned there were many, many, many different contingents that have shown up here. And
Yes.
I think that's going to be that's a powerful thing, because I mean, so many of us, and we talked about this earlier on, basically alluding to the level of support that we have and what we have around us. It's so huge. It is. I
It's
can't even
right
walk.
here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
Yes.
absolutely it's
It's
absolutely
right here.
amazing.
That support is right here
Yeah.
now. So many looking to the skies, Todd, waiting for that spaceship to come out the skies and
Hmm.
first contact. Oh my goodness. They don't need spaceships. They just walk interdimensionally between the
Exactly.
realms and the dimensions. They're right here. And as our vibration rises, we'll see them more and more and more and more. They see us very clearly, but it's us that's still rising into the frequency to be able to see them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been saying that for years. If spaceships land, you won't see me getting on
No, me
them.
neither, because they certainly won't be coming
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
civilizations we believe they are. They'll be a very different. They'll be coming from a very different civilization.
Let me show everybody on the screen real quick. This is theheartlady.net. Okay. This is Janine's site, and she's got work with work with me, videos and audio about contact blog. And on the right side is a Patreon link. Okay. And I hope you don't mind. I'm just kind of
No,
throwing you out here.
no.
She's got a free ebook, The Gift, a collection of verse. Oh, nice. I'm not the only poet here then, huh? Okay. Yeah, this looks nice. Well done. Very well done. I'm going to leave this open and tap into this and download this book. So that the next time, it's nice testimonials, that we get together, I will be a little bit more familiar with you. But yeah, I just want to say again, endless gratitude, love, respect, honor, and reverence, all blessings to you and yours. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us. I look forward to collaborating with you again and seeing you on this side and the other side. Because
Thank
it's
you
all the
so
same side.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Todd. It's been a lovely, lovely space that we've created, and I had already felt into it and knew exactly what it was going to be like. So I've been really looking forward to our communication and connection.
Thank you. I knew something was up because I was talking to Morgan about 20 minutes before the show. And I said, "Oh my God, I feel weird." And she's like, "That's how I felt yesterday." But she was talking about something else. She was talking about more like, sometimes you come out and it's just like everything's just weird. But it was in my body. And it took,
Yeah.
because it's been a while since I've done, shows. I'm used to doing 3, 4 a day. And so I realized right away it was us. I thought,
Yes.
oh, wait a minute. We've just, because I got
We
that kind of like that, not nausea, but like that you feel that wave come over you and you're like, oh my God, hang on. Am I gonna pass out? But yeah, extraordinary. There's no mistakes. I look forward to it. And thank you so much for being so open. And thank you for your service to humanity.
Thank you, Todd. Much, much love to you. Thank you.